Welcome to Colombia. We have been waiting for you. We have developed a special roadmap to help you get acquainted with our country and feel comfortable investing with us. Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world, and this natural environment provides us with millions of hectares for agricultural production and ample supply of raw materials used in all industries by skilled Colombian workers. Thanks to its geographical location, sharing borders with two oceans and great passenger and cargo air connectivity, Colombia offers a great advantage as an export platform to supply the world. And it has also become an ideal nearshoring destination for international companies that are diversifying their regional supply chains. Colombia also shows one of the highest economic growth rates in the region. And it is expected to continue growing through the Infrastructure Master Plan, focused on technical, social, and environmental sustainability. The country welcomes international investors by offering various facilitating factors. Colombia's unique, talented, and highly skilled workforce is one of the largest in the region. Colombia offers strategic support in all stages of the investment cycle through its red carpet treatment for investors. There are special incentives for mega investments and a special free zone regimen. And as part of the commitment to being increasingly sustainable and competitive, the country offers special tax benefits for companies that generate a positive social and environmental impact. Colombia is a great option for your next investment. So are you looking for the right time to invest? Colombia has created an environment of excellence, and our highly talented people will help take your business to the next level. The opportunity? The choice is yours. And the place? It's definitely Colombia.
A significant event, this webinar, Trade and Investment Opportunities of the Wood Sector in Colombia, for many reasons. But first of all, as Margarita mentioned, my name is Natalia Tobon, and I'm the director of the Hub Asia of ProColombia, as well as the director of ProColombia in China and the commercial consular of the Colombian Embassy in China. We know first that there's a huge...
Que hay una gran demanda de madera en el mercado asiático.
Production and an ample portfolio of wood and timber products. Nevertheless, sometimes we face difficulties in terms of sustaining quality. And one of the main reasons of this is that there is a lack of financial resources to upgrade this productivity. That is why we have invited you all and gathered you all in this event. So everyone that is present in this webinar has a better understanding of the forestry potential of Colombia. And also not only for the export, but also for investment. And as well, we want to introduce you to the regulatory scheme that the government has disposed to take advantage of the investment opportunities in the country. In this way, we aim to develop, in cooperation with everyone here, a working plan for China, for India, Vietnam, and for Singapore, so that in the upcoming years, together, we continue contributing to satisfy the huge demand of the Asian market and also develop this sector in Colombia. So first of all, I would like to introduce you what ProColombia is. So ProColombia is the national promotion agency of Colombia, and we're in charge of promoting export.
Promover las exportaciones de bienes y servicios no mineros, así como invertir en la expansión de las empresas colombianas a través de la atracción de la inversión y también el posicionamiento de Colombia como un destino para.
We are as well the managers.
Bien, somos los gerentes de la marca nacional.
Currently, we have presence in 33 countries around the world and 22 regions in Colombia. In Asia specifically, we have offices in China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, India, and the United Arab Emirates. So Colombia, you have maybe you know where Colombia is in the map. You have known that Colombia has a vast offer in terms of fauna and flora, but how's the Colombian economy? So let me give a brief glimpse on how the Colombian economy is. Our PVP in 2020 was $740 billion US, and we are the fourth economy in Latin America. In the past 50 years, Colombia has increased its GDP almost 7 times. In the first half of 2021, this year-on-year GDP growth was 8.8%, which makes the country one of the most stable economies and the one that has the fastest growing economy, above the average of the region. Now, the country's economy is expected, we are expected to close this year by 9.5%, according to the OECD. And for this year as well, it is an interesting remark is that the inflation that was.
Interesante es que la inflación que fue reducido de enero a noviembre de este año fue un porcentaje controlado del 4.84%. Ahora, Colombia tiene más de 50 millones de habitantes. Esto lo hace uno de los 3 países más poblados de Latinoamérica. Y esto es muy importante para que ustedes tengan en cuenta, porque no solamente tenemos una clase media creciente con una capacidad de compra muy interesante que es incluso sobrepasa el promedio de Latinoamérica, sino que también tenemos una gran cantidad de talento humano que está listo para trabajar en los diferentes sectores, específicamente en la industria forestal. Y asimismo, Colombia también tiene, y debido a su población, tiene la importancia de la economía y su posicionamiento en el país. Tenemos una gran importancia en cuanto a la inmunización por la población en las épocas de COVID. Así es que nosotros hemos ofrecido esto a 40 millones, el 70% de la población, y esperamos llegar a más de 25 a 30 millones de personas que estén completamente vacunadas al final de este año. Esto es algo que es importante que ustedes sepan, y es que para visitar a Colombia en este momento, no deben hacer ningún tipo de cuarentena, pero simplemente tendrán que presentar su esquema de vacunación completo para ingresar al país. Así es que le ofrecemos visas en el caso de que necesiten aplicar a uno en el consulado más cercano en su país. Ahora, hoy, como mensaje principal que queremos dejarles, es una idea muy importante, y es que Colombia es el centro de inversión en Latinoamérica. Es un centro o un hub para Latinoamérica para ampliar sus oportunidades de negocio. ¿Por qué invertir en Colombia? Porque no solamente tendrán un acceso a un mercado local debido a nuestra alta población, sino que también podrán disfrutar un acceso preferencial a más del 97% de los países en la región. Colombia es una plataforma de exportación ideal. Si ustedes quisieran establecer sus operaciones, ya sea para desarrollar exportaciones al país, pueden exportar gracias a nuestros acuerdos de libre comercio a la mayoría de los países, y estos son los grandes mercados que representan más de 1.5 mil millones de consumidores en el mundo. Y así también tenemos la posibilidad de desarrollar cadenas de valores dentro de los países que están cercanos a Colombia, y también el 97% a través del continente americano. Ahora, nuestro gobierno nacional también ha introducido varios incentivos para promover esto, y esta es una de las razones por las cuales nuestro país tiene las menores restricciones en la región y las barreras en Latinoamérica. Ahora, Colombia en este momento tiene una ubicación estratégica y yo creo que ustedes sabrán, debido a la ubicación de Colombia en el mapa, sí, Colombia está en la parte superior de la mitad de las Américas, en la parte norte de Sudamérica. Así es que nosotros tenemos acceso a los dos océanos. Asimismo, tenemos un talento humano que está listo para los desafíos para todas las empresas internacionales en cuanto al tamaño de mercado, que es una dimensión importante, así como la estabilidad económica que ha sido demostrada en los previos años, como ya lo mencioné, los 50 años de un crecimiento estable. Nosotros somos el hub ideal latinoamericano para ustedes para desarrollar sus negocios en la región y también para desarrollarse como un centro de operaciones para el continente americano. Ahora, antes de que comenzamos las presentaciones con los panelistas, quisiera presentarles a los expertos algunos de los mercados asiáticos. Creo que debemos pasar a la siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Bien, la anterior, por favor. Bueno, a partir del 20 de septiembre del 2021, siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Gracias. A partir de septiembre nuestras exportaciones han llegado un incremento del 68% comparado con el mismo año o el mismo periodo del año pasado. A la India exportamos 11 millones de dólares con un incremento de 127% comparado con septiembre del 2020. Y en el caso de Vietnam y Singapur, como podemos ver, las exportaciones se han reducido durante el 2021. Sin embargo, con este tipo de iniciativas, tenemos el objetivo de contribuir a crear oportunidades potenciales para este mercado, así es que los valores de los expertos comienzan a recuperarse. Y en el caso de China, tenemos una tasa creciente, con la producción de madera de 3.5 millones de metros cúbicos por año. Para estos mercados asiáticos, hemos reconocido que hay una gran demanda para saman, balsa, teca y eucalipto. Sin embargo, también ustedes verán que las otras variedades de madera que tiene por ofrecer Colombia pueden tener un gran potencial en sus mercados. Así es que para finalizar, una vez de nuevo, ProColombia estará siempre dispuesta a ayudarles con su plan de negocios. Vamos a la siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Y si tienen alguna consulta, por favor, pónganse en contacto con nuestros directores o asesores de cada mercado. Aquí hemos incluido diferentes detalles de contacto a su conveniencia para las empresas chinas, así como también les damos la bienvenida para que nos sigan en nuestra cuenta oficial que está listado aquí, y asimismo hemos incluido también los correos electrónicos de los principales representantes en sus mercados respectivos en la India, Singapur e Indonesia. Estaríamos complacidos en acompañarlos, apoyarlos en su investigación de mercados o exportaciones o para desarrollar cualquier proyecto de inversión o un joint venture con los socios locales aquí en Colombia. Muchísimas gracias por unirse a nosotros hoy. And thank you for being in this way.
Que hace tanto el sector y la industria. Voy a hacer mi presentación. Bueno, nosotros somos la feria líder en la producción de madera, la fabricación de muebles y el diseño de espacios en Latinoamérica y el Caribe. Nuestra feria es organizada por Colmesa y Corferias y se llevará a cabo de manera presencial del 10 al 13 de mayo del 2022 en el recinto ferial de Corferias en Bogotá, Colombia. Tendremos contenido académico, muestra comercial reflejando toda la cadena de valor y áreas especiales como lo son un pabellón de herramientas y ferretería y una sección que tendremos que es Piazza enfocada en diseño. Nosotros, Interzum Bogotá, pertenecemos a la familia Interzum, entre las cuales tenemos Interzum Colonia, que se realiza en Alemania, Interzum Guangzhou en China, Seoul en Alemania, y en el 2022, como les comentaba, tendremos Interzum Bogotá. En nuestra feria, promoviendo todo el sector y todo lo que también se está desempeñando en torno al forestal y de madera, integraremos toda la cadena de valor. el sector forestal desde componentes, herramientas, maquinaria y todo lo necesario para la producción de madera y fabricación de muebles. Tenemos empresas representativas de la industria que ya están confirmadas para nuestro encuentro en mayo. Y entre ellas les queremos mencionar marcas representativas como son Madecentro, Maciza Colombia, Aristizábal y Jinete, Lamitec, Primadera, Ducasi, Steel, entre otros. Adicional, tenemos participación internacional confirmada con pabellones.
Has been confirmed with pavilions of countries such as Turkey, India, Spain, Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Germany, China, Peru, United States, United Arab Emirates, among others. So we would like to invite you specifically so you can have more details of our fair that will take place in May of 2022, and we hope to have your participation there. For further information, please do not hesitate to contact us. We would like to also welcome you in Chinese.
Bogotá, 参加加勒比海地区最重要的木材林业、家具生产及设备展览会。谢谢大家。interzum Bogotá欢迎你们。Gracias. Acá les dejamos igual nuestros datos de contacto para que tengan mayor información de nuestra feria. Gracias.
Bueno, muy buenos días acá a todos en Colombia. Muy buenas noches a las personas que están conectadas en las oficinas en Asia. Soy Manuel Salgado, gerente de inversión de ProColombia. Con mi colega Natalia, como hizo en la introducción, en ProColombia estamos interesados en desarrollar este sector no solamente para fortalecer el comercio de las exportaciones colombianas de madera hacia la región de Asia, sino también en traer inversión extranjera directa. Tengo una presentación que tiene dos partes, básicamente el tema macro de Colombia y después un zoom especial en cómo está la industria de maderas en el país. ¿Ok? Si quieres, siguiente, por favor. Bueno, perfecto. Entonces acá vamos a mencionar de grosso modo 5 características generales que tiene Colombia en este momento para destacarse como un potencial o una región, un país interesante para atraer inversiones extranjeras al país. Entonces es una estabilidad política y económica, los acuerdos comerciales que tenemos vigentes en este momento, la localización estratégica, los costos competitivos que tenemos en la industria de manufactura, unos incentivos particulares que este gobierno ha diseñado para atraer inversión extranjera y después ya llegaremos a la información del sector de maderas y de muebles. Muchas gracias. Siguiente, por favor. Perfecto, listo. Entonces, bueno, acá, complementando lo que mencionaba Natalia en un principio, aquí vemos cómo Colombia no solamente va a tener un crecimiento destacado en este año 2021 de cierre, las cifras internacionales lo dan entre el 7.6 y 7.7, y ayer precisamente el gobierno nacional mencionó que podemos llegar casi al 9.5% de crecimiento, sino que vemos en los últimos 50 años cómo Colombia se ha destacado en la región con el crecimiento más constante y más parejo, viendo los demás países en los últimos 50 años. Acá vemos como la línea azul básicamente es Colombia y cómo superamos incluso a Chile, a México y a Perú, que son esos dos países grandes. Siguiente, por favor. Listo, entonces acá está el crecimiento, pues básicamente internacionalmente el IMF y el Banco Mundial el crecimiento lo estiman en un 7.6 y 7.7, pero el gobierno está ayer mencionando que podríamos llegar al 9.5%.
Announced that maybe we'll be reaching 9.5% growth. So what do we have in respect to the other countries, or how Colombia is geographically distributed? First of all, Colombia is a country of regions. The gross domestic product of Colombia is not concentrated in the capital, as is the common thing in other Latin American countries. Bogotá, the capital city, represents 25% more or less of internal GDP, but other regions like the Caribbean region, the Pacific, and we have the coffee growing region and Antioquia that represent a big percentage of that GDP. So we see here how that is distributed, the production in Colombia. That is something that I want to highlight to you. So what else do we have? Colombia, it's a member of OECD 2 years ago. It's a full member, but in the last 8 years, Colombia have been working to have the approval of 24 chapters that were required to be part of this good practices countries club. Costa Rica, Mexico have not even had the status. Colombia right now has that status. Now then, what do we have in respect to foreign investment, direct foreign investment? I already show you the growth rate, and inflation is going to be 4.3%. But from January to September, the 9 months of this year, about $6.3 billion have come to the country as direct foreign investment. Last year, we closed with 7.4. But all countries in the world went down due to the pandemic. 88% of foreign investment that's reached in the country is an investment that is concentrated in non-mining energetic industries, and that's something that we want to highlight. We will see from this point onward how do we have investment in the finance sector, in the insurance sectors, just to mention two, also in the manufacturing sector, trade, transportation. So we have a well-distributed, but about 15 years ago, that distribution was 80-20, 80% being mining and energy sector, but that has been changing steadily in last years. In this graph, we are seeing that foreign direct investment reaching the country in the last 10 years before the pandemics, about $14 billion were arriving to the country, and during the pandemics, we went about to 50% of that. In the last report that we have, non-official figures yet from the central bank, is that we have exceeded $7 billion for 2020. Where this investment comes from mainly, at least in the past 5 years, the countries that invest most in Latin Colombia is Spain, United Kingdom, Canada, but the United States, but other countries like Japan, China, Korea, and Israel, and Australia even. So what do we have in respect to the free trade agreements? Colombia, it's a country that has right now 17 free trade agreements already signed with different regions. The entire American continent has been covered by a free trade agreement, except with Panama. Panama has been signed already, but it's not coming into force yet. That gives us a coverage of 97% of the all tariffs that have been negotiated with these countries. In Asia, we have two free trade agreements currently in force right now. We have one with Korea that has been in place for 6-7 years, and one with Israel that came into force last year. But what is also important, we have a very good free trade agreement with the United States. It was signed many years ago. Worth highlighting here that the United States imported 13.5% of all goods that are moved around the world that are being imported by the US. And we are close to them, so we have very close logistics relationships and good relations and trade. In respect to our geographical locations, Colombia is in the middle of the American country. It's at a privileged corner. The only country, along with Panama, that have access to the Pacific Ocean as well as to the Atlantic and the Caribbean. So we have a connectivity that is quite good. It's a privilege. That is the number of days that goods takes from the main ports of Colombia to many regions across the world. You that are in the timber business know that that is quite relevant, and not only to have good ports but also good airports, and we have them. Now when it comes to competitive costs, what do we have here? We have a slide that I want to show you how hand labor in Colombia for the manufacturing industry is quite competitive. We can compare with other countries in the region, both in 2021 as well as previous years, what is being paid as wages to people in the country. That is the minimum legal wage. It's $1.8 per hour. So that is a regime that is easy to understand, that is to hire people as well as to dismiss people. There is a good labor flexibility that favor foreign investment. Unfortunately, we had an unemployment rate that right now is between 10 to 11%. That's high for the region, around 2 million people, but people has been trained. So easy for the companies to look for good qualified workers, persons that have skills for the manufacturing industry and some other things. In respect to incentive for foreign direct investment, we had a free trade zone. This is one of the incentives we have. Actually, it's a territory in Colombia where companies pay less income tax. Income tax in Colombia, it's about 31% this year. Next year, will go down to 30%. In 4 years, we have getting that 1 point down per year. In free trade zones, companies pay 20%. That is 11 points less in income tax. That means that companies can import all raw materials, equipment, etc. they need without paying import duties. And also the VAT, that is 19%. Companies can even bring in the raw materials to build, to assemble final products in their own warehouses. They can even bring under this regime those consumables without paying import duties. Now, the products manufactured there has a Colombian origin. That means that they can access to the different trade agreements that we have signed with different countries around the world. And everything can be sold in the country or be sold outside. We don't have a limit that's establishing that you need to sell whatever percentage in the country and another percentage outside, abroad. No. Companies can decide how much they can sell domestically or abroad. Special incentives for investment. Income tax will be 30%. We have also an incentive for investments, for investments around 260 to 700 million, for instance, that takes place during a period of 5 years and generate 400 direct jobs. That income tax for those companies 27%. And also to enter into legal stability contracts. We also have a holding companies regime for companies that are interested in open offices or branches in Colombia, that they can bring dividends or profits coming from other regions, bring them into the country. That's been in place for the last 2 years. Companies that bring in equipment, that is real productive fixed assets, machinery and equipment that I use to produce my final good, do not pay sales tax or VAT, so that will be exempted from that 19%. We also have special benefits for distribution center for those free trade zones that are near ports or airport, and a special income tax exemptions or for some agri-business companies, and also for contents, business that the creation of contents. And here we go more into the furniture industry and wood or timber sector. You see here how much last year, how much that market amounted to. Wood manufacturing or timber for last year, in 2020 even, amounted to $1.9 billion. About 1 billion of that is concentrated in paper and cardboard, for the manufacturing of boxes. And we also have around 650 that is for forestry and timber extraction, and processing, manufacturing of furniture represent about $264 million. So this is basically represent a steady growth of 17%. That you can see figures up to 2015 there. Now, this slide, this is going to show later by the Agriculture Ministry. Camilo will be here with us, but we see here the regions where the hectares that have been planted in the country. The largest concentration of hectares planted are in the coffee growing region. That is the green sector that you see here in the country, and Antioquia. There is a detail of the species that have been planted there. This presentation will be shared with you, of course. And we have the Orinoco region, that is the flat part of Colombia, from the foothills towards Venezuela, is completely flat. We have a lot of hectares planted there, and the Caribbean region that has a special characteristics, logistics benefits, I mean, to facilitate export to send the timber and wood logs already processed to abroad. One of the indicators national government uses to see how much wood is mobilized in trucks, for instance. So we see here how before the pandemic, around 3.4 million of cubic meters were mobilized. In 2020, it went down to 2.8 million, and right now the figures that we have as of June is 1.4 million cubic meters of wood have been mobilized through Colombian roads. And this is the breakdown of a product that wood product that is being mobilized. We have pulp, block, you see there, the plump. This is what has been mobilized. And here we are showing what is the expectation for the next 11 years. We see here how for 2040, for instance, we estimate that we can mobilize around 8.6 million cubic meters. Give us about an average, if we look at the years from now to then, even the year before the pandemic, we have been mobilizing on average 6.6 million cubic meters. And this is a good estimation because the trees has been planted already. What comes next is the cutting, the processing, according to the type of wood, of course, and we know how much is going to be cut in year 8, in year 12, or even a decade ahead. The species that you see over there, like Pinus caribeus, Eucalyptus grandis, Tectoma grandis, have been forecasted up to 2030. That's to mention a few species only. So you can see the amount of cubic meters that will be mobilized in pine and eucalyptus and Acacia magnus. Acacia magnus are really the most woods that will be mobilized. If we look at the market, internal market, that is Colombia, what is good to highlight. We have a population that is growing, as Natalia mentioned in the beginning, not only the population of Colombia, but how much the region is important in wood and wood products. The market, the furniture market in Colombia represents made of wood. Of course, before the pandemic, it's around $528 million. Distributed in different products. Most of this is wood that has been cut already from the sawmills. We have wood boards and wooden accessories, even the fiber that is being utilized for the pulp, paper and carton, card box industry. And this the characterization, the business characterization, the characterization of the business. What Colombia has right now? Colombia right now has 73 productive units that have the FSC certification in Colombia. That give us around 150,000 hectares that have the status of this standard of international level, belonging to 8 Colombian business associations and companies. We will be showing you what parts of the regions are they operated. And according to information of agriculture ministry, there's a unit called PUPRA. We have a potential of 7.5 million hectares in Colombia with a high aptitude to plant trees, forest plantation in Colombia. There's a big universe, basically land that be used for cattle right now, but not quite productive, that can be turned into good forest plantation. So we have around 3,412 productive units in Colombia, concentrated mostly in the and the plantations, really. Most companies, 96% are medium-sized or small companies. We see here how the industry, that is the forest and the production of furniture, etc., gathers about 8,000 companies in Colombia. We have companies that are turning around wood boards, 810 dedicated to manufacture of other wood products, 1,711 in carpentry and furniture, and 5,400 companies approximately that are dedicated to furniture manufacturing. That is where the most number of companies. Then they are located mostly in the center of the country towards the Caribbean and a little bit towards the Pacific, as you can see over there. And after that, we see where it is located. This is important and quite interesting because companies that are interested in conducting or entering into partnerships with Colombian companies, we have identified what are the big players. We see how in the Caribbean, for this presentation, Magdalena, there is a good location because they are connected to port. There are 6 big players and they have around 70% of all forest plantations at this very moment. Cesar also, that is next to Bolivar as well, with 3 big companies holding 77%. Sucre, 2 companies, almost 30%. In Córdoba, 4 companies that have 33%.
Now, what are the investment opportunities that we would like to show you here? So here we have a potential, that is, there is a potential of 14 million hectares available for forestry matters, and of these 7 million have an aptitude that is better, with a high aptitude for planting and forestry. In the last 20 years, Colombia has had 487 million tons. Right now we have 530,000, and this is what I was going to mention in the first presentation by Camilo, but we will go back with him. So this means that we have planted very few hectares in the past years. Of course, this is a huge effort that has been made, but we still have a gap to fill in to at least attain 7 million hectares planted, right? So we also have an opportunity so that companies not just consider the output of wood that they want to sell, but the idea is they can sell green bonds. So this is a market where Colombia is getting into, and we also have opportunities so that companies can also invest in bonds, in coal or carbon bonds. And here we will require companies that, besides manufacturing, I mean, we have the conditions for planting. We have the wood from the forestry plantings from a few years. We have local consumption, but we still need large companies for manufacturing. Next one. And this is where we come in to highlight some figures, please. So here, okay, let's go back one. Okay, so here, what do we have with regards to opportunities in the construction sector? So in Colombia, there is a large deficit in terms of housing construction. Around 1 million houses should be built to at least reach the level of the growth of the population. We are building 100,000 houses or 160,000 per year, and 38% of the wood goes for the construction sector. So here we can see that the year before the pandemic, $130 million went for the construction sector in Colombia, both housing and non-housing or commercial, but we had to import 177 million only in wood boards and panels. So the growth of the construction sector is the one to be highlighted. Here we can see that the next few years, the CAGR, the CAGR of 2020 to 2025 will be of 10.8%. And here in the bars in blue at the bottom, we can see how this industry represents or accounts for basically this year. We are at $6 billion in the construction for residential and non-residential construction industry, with expectation of reaching $8.4 billion, where 38% is of wood that is consumed, goes for the construction sector. Let's go with the next one, please. Okay, so here we have specific information. Here we can see all the architectural carpentry. The sales for 2019 reached $11 million. We have a huge deficit here. We are importing wood. Next slide, please. And then here in this slide, and And as Natalia mentioned, we are the third largest country with the biggest population here and the fourth with the highest GDP. Only in terms of furniture, in the expense of household in furniture, we find that for this year, we hope to reach $1.1 billion with a permanent growth to reach $1.2 billion in the next 3 years. So here we have the picture of Latin America. So here we see that for last year, how much the region is importing in terms of wood and wood products. So we have $3.7 billion. The country that imports the most is Mexico, followed by Peru, and then Chile and Colombia. So these are the 4 countries that import the most. So Colombia is importing around $230 million. So of course, that gives us an indicator of the volume that companies can have that can transform and manufacture that wood that is going out. And so here, for the following years, we can see how Colombia could be a benchmark both for production in the region and to export by filling that gap in the region. Thank you. So here, okay, I would just like to give the floor now to my colleague Enrique Anaya, who is an advisor for the exports department. He is from the office in Cartagena. So I don't know if you are there, Enrique, if you could please connect, and you have the floor. Yes, I am here, Manuel. So if you want, okay, I'm not sharing, so I'll just hide my camera. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of the business persons that are connected and all of those who are from the Asian hub. Up next, we will show you the export opportunities from Colombia, starting or using Colombia as an exporting platform.
La oferta de maderas que tenemos nosotros
Have here in our country, and of course, which are the export markets. Next one, please. So this is pretty much the trade balance, and Manuel had already mentioned this. This is a deficit that has been happening with exports and imports, where we can see that in the past year, of course, Colombia has imported a considerable amount of timber, and in exports we have reduced this. Well, of course, this is due to all of the issues.
Aquí nos muestra un poco de déficit, digamos, esta balanza comercial siguiente.
Balance. Next one, please. So from Colombia, well, we supply all the regional market in terms of wood, and of course, Colombia has imported in 2020 $3.7 billion in wood, and these are the destinations that we are also importing from since last year. That is wood, of course. Next one, please. And this is the landscape of the products where we are exporting to. So we initially are going to show you the markets of the Americas, and then we will delve into the Asian markets. And mainly here we have North America, the US, that is our main market, especially for everything that has to do with floors. And we have Mexico in terms of exports for also floors aimed at the American market, with a small percentage in the Caribbean countries, and South America with an 18%. Here, we can see the general landscape as to what our exports are and our commercial balance. And as I had previously mentioned, the Asian markets comprise 71% of Colombian exports, being Vietnam, the market that we export timber the most to, followed by China, India, Ecuador, Panama, and other countries of the American continent. We have the United States, Mexico. Go ahead, Christian. Now, this is just to show you which are the woods that we are exporting the most. Of course, these are our general line items. Here we are explaining little by little how our exports have been since January. Our main market export is Vietnam with 1.5 million, then followed by India, China. And these are by species, of course. When we talk about balsa wood, We also have Vietnam as a very important player, followed by Ecuador and Switzerland. In pine, of course, here we changed the market a little. Of course, these woods are more aimed at the markets of the Americas, being Panama the main destination of exports, followed by the US and Curacao. As far as other tropical woods, the balance kind of changes here as well, where we have Aruba leading, a country of the Caribbean region, with important exports, followed by Vietnam, as well as Curacao. Next one, please. This is pretty much the landscape. So as Manuel presented to you, but this is a landscape of the departments with the highest exports from Colombia in tropical wood. It could be in blocks or logs, having Córdoba with a 30.4% of the share of exports to Asian markets, followed by Valle del Cauca, Bolívar, Chocó, and Atlántico. So this is the landscape of the regional market of timber in Colombia. The idea is to show you the balance of imports of timber from Asia since 2016 until 2020. Next one, please. And this is just to show you the species, of course. When we break it down according to line items, those produced here, well, it is important to mention that exports teak and species like Cumarucho and others, balsam, melina, which is another type of wood that is being exported a lot out to China. We are exploring new markets such as Japan, South Korea, to extend the commercial balance as to how the dynamics of exports have been last year. Next one, please. And this is the portfolio of timber and wood products that we had mentioned previously. We have sawn wood, densified wood, and of course for the Asian markets, we have moved densified wood, raw wood, and other types of wood such as molded wood, profiled wood, coniferous woods, tropical woods, which are our fortes for the Asian markets. And of course, we see that all of these woods are used for the floors industry, home furniture, and where we clearly see a very important market for our wood exporters. So this is roughly to show you the landscape of the wood exporters or timber exporters in Colombia. We saw the chat who were asking about the list of exporters from Colombia that export woods to the Asian markets. Of course, we have from Valle del Cauca, we have from the department of Córdoba, Bolívar, Chocó, Santander, and once again from Córdoba and Magdalena. And we can see how we have woods totally, herbal care, Los Cedros hairwood flooring, Ortiz land trading, Procesadora de maderas, Basa de maderas, Unigreen, Promaderas, and Bosques y Maderas. Those are the companies. This is just to show you the portfolio of products. As a first measure, we're going to show you the companies, which is Procesadora de Maderas del Caribe, the woods processing of the Caribbean company. This is from Cartagena, Colombia, with its plantations in the departments of Córdoba, Antioquia, Chocó, and Cesar. And this is pretty much the portfolio of timber that they have of this company. We have Cumaru, Pepe, Tica, Balsam. Next one, please. Up next, we will show you Los Cedros. Los Cedros is also located here in the city of Cartagena. And this is pretty much the portfolio of products that the company has, where they export IPE decking, Cumaru, teak blocks. We also have Balsamo, Cumaru, and teak pieces, Balsamo, and other species. Next one, Christian, please. This is another company that is also located in the city of Cartagena, which is Transfer TK. This is an exporting company, mainly out to India and Vietnam. Deca and teak, Cumaru, Balsamo are the varieties that are exported from Cartagena, Colombia. This is another company located in the city of Cartagena. It's Unigreen International, basically exporting teak from Cartagena to the markets of India, samam for China, South Korea, Japan, balsamo, kumaru, and obviously block teaks and in logs. This is another company called Decor Maderas that also exports densified wood and tropical woods. Decor Maderas also exports finished products. Also showing you that from Colombia, we have an offer of finished products to specific markets, mainly focused in Central America and the United States. Go ahead, please. Planta Industrial Fábrica. This company is located in the city of Montería in Córdoba, the department of Córdoba that is, and with a main export of teak, kumaru. The main market is China. This is very important, so you can have it referenced in your portfolio of vendors. Go ahead, Christian. This company is located in the city of Bogotá. It's called Glomco. It's Global International Trading Company. And it is based in the company of Bogotá, mainly exporting teak and mainly aimed initially at the Indian market, mainly. Next one. This is Prime Capital Invest, based in the city of Cartagena, in the department of Bolívar, Colombia. And its main products are teak, salmon, balsamo, and kumaru in logs and teaks. These are pretty much the pictures of the exported products, densified woods, as well as logs. Thank you, Christian. And this is pretty much the landscape of a listing of exporting companies or the main wood or timber exporters in Colombia. Our main markets, as we have already mentioned, are the Asian hub, where we see a large potential of growth in terms of being important vendors or providers of wood from Colombia. And we are attentive to any question or concern that you may have at the end of the presentation by way of the chat box. So we will be attentive to solve any of the concerns you may have. Thank you very much, Enrique. And now we would like to welcome once again Mr. Camilo Santos, who is the Director of Agricultural Chains from the Ministry of Agriculture of Colombia, to explain us the policies of the forestry sector in Colombia.
Buenos días, espero que ahora temas técnicos y si escuchan con la traducción de manera, ¿están escuchando? Quisiera validando correctamente.
Just to check and make sure that everything is working fine, Christian? Yes, we can hear fine, thank you. Okay, perfect, that's good. So if you could please share the screen at this time. Very well, so thank you very much once again. I would like to thank you for this time and space that we are offered as the Ministry of Agriculture to join in this very important session with investors interested in all the reforestation, the commercial reforestation activity in Colombia. So I'm going to have Christian support now for our presentation. If you can help me with the next one, please. Very well. So our three main goals that have to do with public policy around the commercial forestry plantations in Colombia. The first one, and as mentioned by my colleague from Colombia at the beginning, has to do with the interest of the national government for this forestry industry can have a higher participation in our GDP, where at the beginning of the administration was around 0.69%. And in these moments, the goal that we hope to achieve at the end of the administration is that we would be reaching 1% of the share of the commercial forestry industry in the GDP. What is also important to mention is another goal that we would expect to achieve. And it is to increase in over 122,000 hectares. Please confirm if you can hear me. Yes, we can, if you can.
La segunda meta importante como política pública es
to increase for 2022 to be able to reach 122,000 hectares of commercial reforestation with a very important horizon on a long term. And it is about to reach by 2030, 1.5 million hectares. This is a very important goal. And as presented by my previous colleagues, we have the importance for us of these clusters, forestry clusters, and specifically the one on the Caribbean region. So you can see the geographic position of Colombia and the access that we have to both oceans, as we mentioned at the beginning. And of course, there is a huge potential in this cluster of the Caribbean region cluster because of all the logistic capabilities that we can have there.
Algo muy importante, y ya lo mencionaban también, y es cuáles son esas áreas de aptitud precisamente para el establecimiento de plantaciones forestales. En estos momentos, y hay algo muy importante para que todos quienes nos escuchan lo entiendan, Colombia presenta en estos momentos aproximadamente un área de casi 100 millones de hectáreas. De estas 100 millones de hectáreas, más o menos el 60%, 60 millones de hectáreas se encuentran bajo protección de una u otra categoría. Y 40%, es decir, casi 40 millones de hectáreas es lo que nosotros definimos desde el Ministerio como la frontera agrícola. Esta es la cancha de juego en donde todas las cadenas agrícolas, incluida la forestal, son o presentan esa capacidad para poder ser utilizadas. De esta capacidad de área que les comentaba de 40 millones de hectáreas para temas de reforestación comercial, y ahorita en la siguiente diapositiva lo veremos, contamos con más de 24 millones de hectáreas que presentan unas condiciones favorables para plantaciones forestales. Esto en términos de porcentaje hace referencia más o menos al 52% de esta frontera agrícola que les mencionaba. ¿Cuál es la situación actual? Estamos rondando las 3 cifras a junio del año pasado y con una producción en metros cúbicos por año cercana a los 3.5 millones de metros cúbicos. En estos momentos, en nuestra balanza comercial como país, tenemos un déficit en donde para el año 2019 pues presentábamos unas exportaciones cercanas a los 264.000 metros cúbicos y unas importaciones superiores a las 669.000 metros cúbicos. Hay algo muy importante, y lo mencionábamos, y es la ubicación geográfica. Nosotros como país estamos ubicados entre los trópicos y el estar nosotros en esta posición geográfica lo que nos permite a nosotros es tener unos tiempos de crecimiento hasta 3 veces superiores cuando nos comparamos con países que están situados hacia el norte o hacia el sur de los trópicos. Esto empieza a ser ya un factor fundamental y es esa capacidad que nosotros tenemos por esas condiciones agroclimáticas de poder generar de una manera mucho más rápida y eficiente biomasa, que es precisamente en este tema forestal lo que nos lleva a atraer inversionistas. Y podemos pasar a la siguiente, por favor. Nuevamente aquí este mapa de Colombia, pero ahora aquí haciendo referencia precisamente a estos suelos con aptitud para poder implementar plantaciones forestales comerciales. Tenemos una identificación muy importante y es de esas 24 millones de hectáreas que les estaba mencionando, cuáles se encuentran presentes en suelos de mayor aptitud. Y aquí quiero ser muy claro porque esto es muy valioso esta información y es qué significan suelos de buena aptitud. Son suelos en el que la inversión requerida para poder lograr la productividad óptima en plantaciones comerciales va a requerir una menor inversión. Como lo mencionaban anteriormente, nosotros en el ministerio contamos con una agencia que es la Unidad de Planificación y ellos tomaron en cuenta más de 70 variables edafoclimáticas alrededor de las plantaciones comerciales para identificar estos suelos de mayor aptitud, en donde a nivel de implementar una plantación forestal se requerirían menos recursos para lograr esos óptimos. Entonces, de esas 24 millones de hectáreas de potencial, tenemos 7 millones de hectáreas ubicadas en suelos de alta aptitud. Y ustedes lo podrán ver e igual en la página de nuestra unidad de planeación, que también les facilitaremos como parte de este webinar para que ustedes puedan hacer ya una mayor aproximación en detalle a este mapa de Colombia. Entonces tenemos algo también importante para resaltar, porque ya veía algunas preguntas en el chat. Ustedes ven en la última línea de este cuadro es cuál es la cantidad de área en Colombia que no consideramos nosotros apta precisamente para proyectos de reforestación comercial. Y tenemos que casi 89 millones de hectáreas en este momento no las consideramos nosotros aptas para este tipo de inversión. Toda esta información está muy correlacionada también con todo el tema de licenciamiento que se requiere para la implementación. Esta información la manejan las autoridades ambientales y pues los proyectos los orientamos a desarrollarse precisamente en este tipo de áreas. Cuando les mencionaba en la primera diapositiva ese clúster regional en la costa Caribe o en la parte norte de Colombia, es ahí en donde nosotros tenemos también ubicado un gran porcentaje de estos suelos de mayor aptitud para la reforestación comercial. Si podemos pasar a la siguiente, por favor. Como lo mencionaban, también tenemos las diferentes zonas nosotros en donde se desarrollan nuestros cultivos y aquí lo que nosotros queremos mostrarles pues es en dónde se están dando también estos potenciales de acuerdo a las diferentes especies. Tenemos la región Caribe, que la queremos potencializar. Tenemos la región de la Orinoquía, con un potencial muy elevado para el desarrollo de nuevas plantaciones comerciales, en donde hemos tenido una gran inversión nacional e internacional en nuevos proyectos de actividad comercial. Y finalmente, también la zona del eje cafetero, que ya también nos mencionaban algunos colegas, y importante pues también resaltar no solamente las variedades, sino también algunas muy propias del trópico que nosotros hemos empezado a manejar, ya lo veremos más adelante, como es el caso de la guadua, como es el caso también del bambú, como es el caso del caucho y como es el caso también del marañón. Aquí también quisiera aprovechar para mencionar, pues, en esa gran biodiversidad que tenemos como país, nosotros hacemos una particular atención en lo que son, uno, los sistemas agroforestales, en donde hacemos un complemento entre actividades agrícolas tipo café o tipo cacao, que son mezcladas con reforestación comercial. Esto con el fin, lógicamente, pues de tener un tema en conceptos de sostenibilidad ambiental con un mayor espectro. Siguiente, por favor. Como les mencionaba, estos, por poner algunos ejemplos de estos rendimientos que nosotros tenemos en diferentes especies que ya estamos nosotros desarrollando aquí. Algo muy importante, pues ese potencial de cosecha que nosotros tenemos en metros cúbicos por hectárea por año y, lógicamente, cuáles son estos años de cosecha también que nosotros podemos empezar a trabajar y el tipo de producto que nosotros como potencial podemos nosotros también identificar. Siguiente, por favor. Algo muy importante y es en estas mismas regiones que les hemos mencionado, tenemos una situación actual en donde lo que nosotros estamos aquí evidenciando es cuáles son las especies que están en este momento en siembra, cuál es el área sembrada, cuál es la edad promedio que tienen en este momento y en la parte superior de esta gráfica lo que ustedes ven pues son esas necesidades que nosotros tenemos en este momento para inversión. Tenemos para la región del Caribe un potencial muy importante en temas de transformación. Y aquí quisiera resaltar algo fundamental y es cómo algunas regiones del mundo, particularmente Europa, ya han iniciado todos los procesos de descarbonización de sus economías y en donde ellos están es a la búsqueda precisamente de nuevas opciones de biomasa para poder hacer todo el tema de generación de energía. Y hay un alto potencial a partir de los chips que se pueden generar en estos procesos de transformación y en también poder identificar algunas especies que nos puedan dar una mayor cantidad de producción de biomasa y la idea es poder buscar este tipo de nuevos mercados en estas economías, como les decía, que están encaminadas ya de una manera muy contundente hacia la descarbonización de su producción de energía. Tenemos algo muy importante y es en toda la región andina un potencial para el establecimiento de nuevas áreas de plantaciones. Ustedes ven un potencial superior a 1.900.000 hectáreas y finalmente en la región de la Orinoquía, una de esas regiones llamadas por la FAO, Organización de Naciones Unidas, que tiene que ver con todo el sector agrícola, pues llamado precisamente a ser una de las despensas a nivel mundial y lógicamente pues el tema forestal haciendo parte importante también de este trabajo. Si podemos pasar a la siguiente, por favor. Quiero aquí presentarles también algunos incentivos que precisamente nos permiten de alguna manera apalancar la inversión que se haga en la implementación de plantaciones forestales comerciales. Tenemos una ley que está en operación desde el año 94 y lo que ha permitido apalancar es a través de un certificado de incentivo forestal poder apalancar de manera directa dos momentos importantes. Uno, lo que es el establecimiento y otro, el mantenimiento de plantaciones comerciales, precisamente mediante el apalancamiento de hasta el 50% de los costos en estos procesos. Sabemos pues que es muy importante al inicio de las plantaciones comerciales y en poder apalancar los primeros momentos en que nosotros damos inicio a las plantaciones, así como ya una vez está consolidada la plantación, poder apalancar también todas las actividades de mantenimiento. Hay algunas connotaciones pues ya de orden y de requerimientos legales para poder aplicar a estos certificados de incentivo forestal. Muy importante resaltar pues la parte ya de la tenencia en las tierras en donde se vaya a hacer la inversión. De igual forma, aplica también para personas del orden natural o también para personas jurídicas o compañías que quieran aplicar. Y también algo fundamental es que el área en donde se vayan a desarrollar los cultivos durante los 5 años previos no se haya hecho ningún tipo de deforestación o de actividad en zonas de protección. Y lógicamente con base en ese mapa que hay en la UPRA, poder demostrar que estos suelos están ubicados dentro de lo que el Ministerio de Agricultura considera como esas zonas aptas para el desarrollo de este tipo de actividad. Contamos con una página web en el Ministerio de Agricultura en donde se hace la recepción de este tipo de proyectos para poder de esta manera evaluarlos y analizarlos. Siguiente, por favor. Tenemos nosotros, a partir de la ley de crecimiento económico, también, y ya nos lo presentaban acá, todo un tema de exención tributaria que abarca o está permitido, digamos, en este marco de tiempo desde el año 2019 hasta el año 2036 y también aplica para nuevas plantaciones forestales, como les decía en este caso, la guadua, el bambú, el caucho y también algunas otras especies que cuentan con la validación de parte de nuestras autoridades ambientales. También de igual forma la inversión que se pueda dar a nivel de aserraderos o de plantas de procesamiento de toda esta biomasa que se genera en estas plantaciones forestales. De igual forma, también para algún tipo de incentivos tributarios que se dan para plantaciones forestales que ya están existentes en el capítulo que hablamos también de renovación precisamente de esos cultivos. Si podemos pasar a la siguiente, por favor. Algo muy importante, pues también derivado de todo lo que son los acuerdos de paz, hay unos incentivos particulares en algunas zonas que se han determinado por parte del gobierno como áreas que fueron altamente afectadas en su momento por el conflicto armado. En este momento tenemos 344 municipios en Colombia que presentan esta condición y que abren también una oportunidad importante a nivel de incentivos tributarios. Como les decía, también toda la inversión que se haga en fuentes de energía no convencionales a partir de la biomasa que se pueda generar con las plantaciones forestales, también el gobierno colombiano ofrece unos incentivos frente a también la inversión que se haga con estos fines. De igual forma, pues todo lo que sea inversiones también en bienes públicos y en infraestructura productiva también va a tener unos beneficios tributarios muy atractivos. Finalmente, y si pasamos por favor a lo que será ya la última diapositiva, ¿cómo continuamos nosotros desde el Ministerio de Agricultura en esta actividad para atraer la inversión precisamente en estas cadenas forestales comerciales? Continuamos a través de esa ventanilla única forestal recibiendo e identificando proyectos potenciales precisamente para aumentar esas áreas de siembra y algo muy importante, también poder vincular a pequeños reforestadores con empresas que quieran hacer inversiones potenciales a través de esquemas de asociaciones. Esto es muy importante porque es lo que nosotros consideramos en generar un dividendo social en el territorio en donde apalancamos, como les decía, a través de un modelo asociativo y a través de figuras de agricultura por contrato, pues que esta inversión también cuente con la participación de la población que está presente en el territorio. De igual forma, y pues también con la reciente reunión que tuvimos en Glasgow de varios países, pues obviamente construir alianzas con sectores de minería para hacer inversiones en este tipo de plantaciones comerciales y hacia futuro, pues lógicamente poder implementar todo el sistema de ventas de certificados de captura de CO2 con el ánimo lógicamente de mantener todo el tema de producción de carbono neutro. Y lógicamente con nuestros aliados, y agradecer una vez más por la invitación a participar en este webinar a través de ProColombia, precisamente en este tipo de ejercicios como en el que estamos nosotros desarrollando en este momento. Con esto, pues quisiera ya dar por terminada la intervención, agradecer y pues estaremos muy atentos a atender cualquier inquietud vía chat. Estaré yo y también estará mi coordinadora de la unidad forestal para atender cualquier inquietud. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Camilo. Pues aprovechando su presencia, nos hacen dos preguntas desde la audiencia. Una es si Colombia exporta algunas especies provenientes de bosques naturales. Y la otra pregunta es, como ven, las implantaciones son de todas especies introducidas. Si se realizan una compensación con especies nativas.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Con respecto a la primera pregunta, no. Todo lo que es área de protección no permite el desarrollo de ningún tipo de aprovechamiento dentro de estas áreas. Como les decía al inicio, se identifica cuál es la frontera agrícola y está muy claro y bajo la autoridad de las agencias ambientales el no permitir ningún tipo de comercialización y que se pueda dar de cualquier tipo de material forestal que salga de áreas de protección comercial, de protección que se da a nivel de país. Todo lo que se exporta debe provenir y debe obtener sus licencias de áreas que se encuentren dentro de la frontera agrícola habilitada. Y de igual manera, sí hay una promoción hacia las especies nativas. Tenemos algunas especies introducidas, lógicamente, que han mostrado un excelente desarrollo de biomasa, pero también hay todo un potencial de especies nativas que de alguna manera también están siendo utilizadas, como les decía, sobre todo en temas agroforestales y de igual manera en sistemas silvopastoriles que combina la producción pecuaria con también algunas ventajas del orden de reforestación comercial.
Muchas gracias, Camilo, por su explicación y por su tiempo. Y ahora, bienvenida a la señora Yang Junyi, secretaria general del Comité de Maderas Duras de la Asociación China de Distribución de Maderas y Productos de Madera, quien va a compartirnos el resultado de comercio de maderas y los productos de madera en China en los primeros 3 trimestres y la perspectiva para el próximo año.
Greetings from China. I'm from China Timber and Wood Products Distribution Association, a national association with a membership of 3,000 companies engaged in the whole supply chain, and the import volume of our member company accounted 50 to 80% of China's total import. It's an honor for me to share my opinion about the wood market in China. From 2019, our colleagues around the world have been affected by COVID-19, but fortunately, the wood industry still performed well from the second half in 2020 to the first half of 2021. During that time, the highest quotation has been increased by more than 300%. As you can see from this picture, the supply structure of forest products in China is quite stable. In 2018, the total supply of China's wood markets was 556 million cubic meters, and the domestic supply was 88 million cubic meters. The farmer use and the firewood was 27 million cubic meters. The output of fiberboard was 58 million cubic meters, and the particle board was 27 million cubic meters, with a percentage
Ms. Yang, do you hear me? Sorry for interrupting. Do you hear me?
26%. The imported wood accounted for 53%.
Ms. Yang, can you hear us?
哎，你好。
Well, the consumption was 556 million cubic meters. The construction industry was 117 million cubic meters.
Ms. Yang, sorry to interrupt
Do you hear us? Do you hear us?
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we are not seeing the presentation.
Can you make it wider? Can you make it wider total screen?
The full screen, please.
就是要把它改成那个。
Can you see it now?
Yeah, now we can see that you're moving the slides, but if you can put it in the full screen, we will appreciate it.
Okay, can you see it?
No.
哎，你可能要退出一下，就是把那个。
How can I?
可能要结束一下投屏，然后重新来一次。
Margarita, tienes que irte al inglés para que la escuche.
Okay.
sorry， 听得见我说话吗？
可以的。那我暂停一下，然后重新共享，好吗？
你可能要退出一下，然后再进来。好，谢谢。
现在可以看到吗？
还不是投屏的形式，是那个，就是好像是，应该是在右下角的那。
现在可以了吗？
好，现在好 ，OK 了，好了。
Okay. Sorry for the problem.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Back to this slide. Sorry. And well, the consumption was 556 million cubic meters. The construction industry was 170 million cubic meters. And the paper and the pulp was 161 million cubic meters. For export, many furniture and fiberboard was 106 million cubic meters. And then the coal mining industry was 6 million cubic meters. In 2014, China's imported wood supply exceeded the domestic supply, and by 2017, China's imported wood exceeded 100 million cubic meters for the first time, and then showed a steady growth. Although China is a large forestry country, but about 98% commercial wood comes from the planted forestry. So the increased middle class in China is escalating its demand for wood products, which means we are looking for high quality and large diameter wood. You can see from this slide, between 2009 to 2018, the total domestic wood consumption showed a steady growth, but the growth rate has been slowing down. In 2018, the total consumption was 556 million cubic meters. showed the first drop in 10 years. Next. Also, in the same time, the overall import and the export of wood products shows steady growth. The growth of import volume was larger than that of export. In 2018, the total import and export volume reached a historical high of $664 billion. From January to, you can see from this slide, from January to September of 2021, China's import of log and sawwood totaled 79 million cubic meters, and the volume was $14 billion. The average price in import was $181 per cubic meters, with an increase of 20% year-on-year. And from this slide, you can see softwood log import has maintained a steady growth until this year. The reason of 2014's decline was the overstock of the past year, and in this year, the main reason is COVID-19, including shipments problem, low efficiency of factories, and the US QE policy, and the transportation problem. And hardwood log started to decline from 2018, mainly due to the foreign policy fluctuation and the log export ban. Also, the increase of rubber wood lumber significantly changed the ratio. From this picture, you can see the lumber import has been growing until this year too, because of COVID-19. So, to everyone in this industry, 2021 is a hard year. Speaking of the sourcing countries, the top 10 log suppliers are New Zealand, Russia, United States, PNG, Solomon Islands, Canada, Uruguay, Equatorial Guinea, and Japan. This sharp increase mainly comes from Europe because they have a lot of beetle wood. They must solve it in a limited time. Well, lumber sources are Russia, Thailand, Canada, USA, Finland, Chile, Sweden, Gabon, Ukraine, and Brazil. Brazil increased rapidly, you can see from it. So the next slide. For this picture, you can see that Japan is growing at a very fast rate, but also shows a light decrease because of the beetlewood supply has been decreased, and the transportation problem is not yet solved. So, and then the export of log for Russia is decreased. This line should, this line shows an increase of Czech Republic, Poland, Ukraine, and also Belarus. And notice that the import from Australia tends to be zero. Oh, sorry. From this one, you can see Thailand exported a lot of rubber wood to China. This is a kind of hardwood, and a lot of people looking for beech wood from Russia, so it caused an increase. For other countries, they all showed a decrease because of COVID-19 and the above reasons I have described before. Next. here is average import price of log and lumber. You can see that from this picture, the price, there is not much change in price, but the demand and the supply has been imbalanced for a long time, from last winter to this to the first half of this year. And then all these price pictures showed the same trends. You can see it. It's go sharply high and then turn down, and then go high and sharply turn down, and then it seems to increase now. But tends to hardwood. From this picture, you can see that hardwood is much more stable than softwood. This is price. As trade enterprise play a role of reservoir, it takes a certain time for the manufacturers and end markets to reply to any fluctuation in the raw material market. This is the same trend. You can see it from it. So because of the COVID-19, the overall trend of global supply capacity slows down, except the beetlewood from Europe and some obstacles for we Chinese buyers in this time, and in different supply areas are as below. So you can see, first of all, the price increased. This is the main reason. The main reason is that the demand is much more than supply, and the transportation issues is a big problem. From Russia, the railway port traffic is congested, and the quotation is too high. So there is no significant improvement in shipping capacity. And so as Europe and the United States, Japan is quite as the same. And then Thailand, there is a shortage of container. And Uruguay, the quotation is too high than usual. So, and there is also some changes in the source of import. The main source of China's timber import are Russia, Europe, and New Zealand. But the share of North American timber is shrinking year by year. It decreased by a certain percentage. And this year, due to the difficulty of import sawwood and the decrease of timber quantity, so we started to manufacture it from log to what we want, lumber particle board. We use the domestic supply, and the global trend is that the prices increase, but the selling price dropped away from the purchasing price. Sometimes the stock is too high, the inventory in the port is too high. Sometimes it goes down. Sometimes I think it's very hard to make a forecast for the wood markets in a few months. So, and also I have mentioned before, the species of imported timber has slightly changed. The proportion of spruce and fir has increased for logs, and the proportion of radiate pine and reed pine has increased for sawwood. For imported softwood log from January to September, Reed pine and spruce increased significantly because it's very cheap and the supply, there is a lot of supply. But the share in total imported softwood logs somewhat declined. The import of white pine reached a historic high, and these two species accounted for 75% of total softwood log import. So the current market is affected by many factors, and it will take a certain time to make the adjustment because the balance of supply and demand is we are also looking for the balance. So now in China market, our inventory is slightly lower than the normal level. Since the beginning of this year, import price dropped significantly away from the domestic market price, and a large number of timber distributors are suffering losses. Currently, the market demand is flat, and the transportation conditions are improving much better than the first half of this year. So it is expected that there is a little room for the price increase in the fourth quarter. And then during the pandemic, there is some new trade and market patterns with the establishment of dual cycle development pattern. China's import and export of timber and wood products will undergo new changes. The volume of imported wood will maintain growth. Structures of imported wood will be further optimized, and the share of sawn wood will continue to grow. So the growth rate of wood products export will continue to decline. So the most important, our domestic market will play a more important role in the future. And so I am really happy to know more about Colombia forestry. Actually, in the past few weeks, in the past few months, we have been contacting with some Colombia suppliers, but we are facing some problem in gathering the demand for our member companies. So I would be happy to propose that if one day we can co-organize some B2B meetings with you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señora Yang. Con mucho gusto cooperamos en el futuro más eventos para promocionar el comercio y la inversión entre ambos países. Y muchas gracias por la información tan importante. Pues vimos gran interés en el chat y muchos se intercambiaron correos, teléfonos, y desde ProColombia con mucho gusto vamos a estar pendientes de su interés y sus preguntas. Mi compañero Cristian ya compartió su correo en el chat, y si tienen una pregunta o inquietud, pueden escribirnos y compartiremos la información que hemos compartido hoy. Y muchas gracias a la cooperación de la Asociación China de Distribución de Maderas y Productos de Maderas y sobre todo la colaboración y apoyo de Curmese en este evento. Pues fue realmente un placer tener todos a ustedes hoy participando en este evento, que unirá a nuestros países y sin duda será la continuación o en algunos casos el comienzo de emprendimientos comerciales duraderos. Pues si tiene, como dije, si tiene alguna pregunta sobre el evento de hoy o las oportunidades de inversión en Colombia, siempre puede comunicarse con la oficina de ProColombia en su país. Y nuestra red de asesores estará ahí para ayudarlos. Pues deseamos estar sanos y salvos, y como decimos en ProColombia, cuidémonos ahora para que nos volvamos a encontrar pronto. Y recuerda, Colombia te está esperando.
Gracias, Margarita. Muchas gracias a todos. Vamos a dar entonces cierre a la sesión el día de hoy. Muchas gracias por toda la atención en este tiempo y sabemos que quedaron preguntas por abordar más adelante. Entonces, como dijo Margarita, tienen ahí los datos de contacto para que podamos seguir en este espacio. Nuevamente los invitamos a nuestra interzum Bogotá 2022 en mayo del 10 al 13, donde tendremos espacios como estos con contenido académico, con relacionamiento, donde puedan establecer más contactos y tener mucho más crecimiento e intercambio de experiencias en nuestra feria presencial en Colombia, en Bogotá. Muchas gracias a todos, que tengan un buen día.
Muchas gracias. Feliz día y feliz noche.
Welcome to Colombia. We have been waiting for you. We have developed a special roadmap to help you get acquainted with our country and feel comfortable investing with us. Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world, and this natural environment provides us with millions of hectares for agricultural production and ample supply of raw materials used in all industries by skilled Colombian workers. Thanks to its geographical location, sharing borders with 2 oceans and great passenger and cargo air connectivity, Colombia offers a great advantage as an export platform to supply the world. And it has also become an ideal nearshoring destination for international companies that are diversifying their regional supply chains. Colombia also shows one of the highest economic growth rates in the region. And it is expected to continue growing through the Infrastructure Master Plan, focused on technical, social, and environmental sustainability. The country welcomes international investors by offering various facilitating factors. Colombia's unique, talented, and highly skilled workforce is one of the largest in the region. Colombia offers strategic support in all stages of the investment cycle through its red carpet treatment for investors. There are special incentives for mega investments and a special free zone regimen. And as part of the commitment to being increasingly sustainable and competitive, the country offers special tax benefits for companies that generate a positive social and environmental impact. Colombia is a great option for your next investment. So are you looking for the right time to invest? Colombia has created an environment of excellence, and our highly talented people will help take your business to the next level. The opportunity? The choice is yours. And the place? It's definitely Colombia.